Well, guys, we've gotten a little bit behind on Deadpool 3, so I thought we could take a couple minutes to dive into all the updates over the last week. Let's talk about multiple new casting updates, as well as a new writer I think they brought on to align it a little closer with the MCU. Well, for many of us fans, I really do think the upcoming Deadpool sequel might be our most anticipated Marvel movie. Not only is it bringing the Merc with the Mouth back for its third movie, but we're seeing the return of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, which has been international news. Now, how he fits into the MCU and who else is coming back is kind of gone unconfirmed and is up in the air a little bit. But it appears very, very clearly they're bringing back a lot of original cast members, and we might see some of those faces from what Ryan Reynolds is calling the Marvel Ancillary Universe show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But first, let's talk about a new casting. Now, a couple of days ago, it was announced that Macfadyen had joined the cast of Deadpool 3. Now, he's probably best known as Tom on HBO's Succession. And he would quite honestly make a great casting for anybody that's a bit weaselly. There have been some rumors he could be Hydra Bob, who did make a small appearance in the first movie, but he wasn't called Hydra Bob, he was just called Bob, so that would make sense if it was a whole new character. Now, obviously that hasn't been confirmed, and we still don't have any news on who Macfadyen is playing, but it is pretty cool they've grabbed a Succession actor, who I think a lot of those folks are going to go on to make quite the name for themselves. Now, in addition to that, there are multiple reports of several cast members coming back from the first two films. The synergy between that group was palatable on screen, so all of these are absolutely good news, and hopefully they all work out. Now, the first two that Deadline reported was that Leslie Uggams and Karan Soni will come back and reprise their roles from the first two movies. If you don't remember who each one of them are, Soni actually played Dopinder, who, honestly, over the course of the two movies, probably evolved more than any character and is a must return. Now, Uggams played his roommate, Blind Owl, and although Blind Owl isn't critical to a lot of the story elements, she does make the setting seem very alive, at least Deadpool's world in that setting, and I do think she is pretty integral to coming back and helping keep Wade Wilson on the path. She always let him know when he was acting like a little bit of a baby. Now, the other bit of news is surrounding Vanessa Carlisle, who was played by Morena Baccarin. Now, she was introduced as Deadpool's love interest in the first movie, and although she only had a minor role in the sequel, her impact on that was huge. Now, if you remember correctly, she was indeed killed off at the beginning of Deadpool 2. But you remember, at the end of Deadpool 2, Wade stole Cable's time travel device and went back in time to prevent her death. Now, recently, she was on the Michael Rosenbaum podcast, and has confirmed that she's been talking with Marvel about returning as Vanessa. This is what she had to say. "I'd like to be in it. They have called me about being in it. We have not agreed on terms, and everybody's trying their best and doing their best. It may or may not work out, I don't know." Now, honestly, because the time travel device was indeed to try to bring back Vanessa, and clearly the time travel element is going to play big in Wade's multiverse adventure, I think having Vanessa return to this movie is near a requirement. I'm sure they can write around it, but having her character return, even for a few small scenes as motivation, I think will be pretty required to keep Wade moving forward throughout the whole project. Her presence on screen with Ryan Reynolds worked well in the first movie, and I thought she was a lot of fun, so I do hope they find a way to work all this out. Now, let's talk about the writers a little bit. Now, a couple of months ago, we found out that Paul Renrick and Rhett Reese had returned to help pen the current edition of the Deadpool script. They had worked on the first two movies, but earlier this week, Deadline dropped a report that said they'll be joined by Zeb Wells. Now, Wells is currently the writer for Amazing Spider-Man, so he's no stranger to the world of the Marvel Universe. He was also a supervising producer on She-Hulk, and wrote one episode, The Retreat of the series, co-wrote the Marvel script with Megan McDonald, Nia DaCosta, and Elisa Karasek. And he's the head writer on the Marvel What If spinoff, Marvel Zombies. So his resume at Marvel Studios is pretty deep, and with working on so many projects, I have to think Marvel itself is pretty happy with the guy. Now, I honestly think adding this particular writer, who's so familiar with the intricacies and working pieces of the Marvel Universe, is specifically there to help integrate whatever Ryan Reynolds has going on into the Marvel Universe without any seams or problems. This is likely in response to Marvel's recent attempts to put quality over quantity, and making sure there's no loose ends and plot holes is something Kevin Feige used to do a really good job cinching up, and I think this is actually an effort to double down on that once again. How it ultimately impacts the Merc with the Mouth and his presence in the MCU? Well, we're gonna have to wait and see.